Welcome to Sleeping Time. Today we're going to talk about America's first sport compact car. This? No. We're going to talk about that. Yes, this would be what many will say is Ford's first sport compact, even though this is a Mercury. Let me explain. So this is, if you're not familiar with it, it is a Mercury Comet GT. A lot of you know the Comet replaced the Falcon way back in the 60s. This is a 1975 Comet, and in 1971 they actually changed and created a Ford Maverick. I think you're familiar with the Maverick. And no, I do not mean the new Maverick small truck that they're making and going to be out in 2022. Go way back into when the Ford Maverick was made. So here's some history on that. This, again, this is the sister. So a little bit on the Ford Maverick. So they realized the market was changing. They realized they can't compete a lot with what was coming out of Japan, and so they had to create something. The Mustang sales they know are dwindling because they were Mustang muscle cars in the early 70s, obviously were kind of going downhill a bit just on the way they were purchased. So what they ended up doing was putting some research into what they thought would sell, and they created a Maverick. And when I mentioned the Mustang, this actual style that you see before you with the Maverick was going to replace the Mustang. Now, I think they were going to actually still call it a Mustang, but that was going to be the new foundation of the Mustang. And we all know they created the Mustang 2s, which I don't think too many people liked them, even though they sold a lot of them. So there is some backstory with the Ford Maverick in the early 70s going to replace, or that body style was going to replace the Mustang. And I don't know if the Mercury side was going to be the Capri, like they did with the Capri, I guess, but this is the Mercury side of that. Now, they wanted to make a compact car, and sport compact, there's a loose definition of it, but let's say in North America, this was definitely one of the first ones that were out there where they have the nice coupe. They have some performance put into it, and back then, of course, they make it affordable as well. And that's what they did. So this is kind of a bridge between sport compact and muscle in the domestic Detroit days. And yeah, it's a pretty cool car. I'm going to tell a little bit about why this is special to me in a moment. It's going to be a heavy debate whether this was in fact a sport compact, but I can guarantee this is as close as a sport compact. Definitely the bridge of the early days of what is going to happen. And if you look through the list, there isn't a lot of American sport compacts. And in the early days, this was probably it. So a lot of you might arguably say that the Eagle Talon and Plymouth Laser were the first sport compact that Detroit put out, or the domestic world put out in America. I'm going to tell you that's not the case, and of course that's arguable too, which ones were first, because sport compact is a loose term. I kind of think it's basically an affordable car, it's a compact car, but it's got some performance stuff put into this car. This fits all the bill, and obviously that was the intent when Ford made it. So put in the comments what you think might have been different, but I think a lot of people will say that this is pretty close to what that was. These are very rare to find, by the way, and I'll tell you, it took me 15 years to find this exact car. why I wanted to find this exact car. My first car was this one. Now, I have been driving since I was 10 years old. Yeah, I grew up on a farm, that's why. Can't say I was on the highway a lot, but on the dirt roads, good roads, fields, obviously. We're helping out. But yeah, this was my first car I had basically when I had my license, got my license. 500 bucks, I think the cam was changed into, that's about all I know. I thought I knew how to drive, but what ended up happening about a month after I had my license, I ended up totaling it. And I mean, I totaled it. It went end for end, flipped 3.5 times. There was nothing, and I got some pictures you'll see there. There was nothing left of it at all. It was amazing that I survived, to be honest. Just going way too fast on a good road is what happened. So fast forward, and 15 years ago I was searching for one of these, or started searching for one of these, and realized how rare they were to find. Comets themselves you can find, there's tons of them made. Comet GTs, a lot less of them made, and obviously these rusted out and were throwaway cars in a way at the time, just like many were. They didn't have a long last life, I guess. And I had to find one that was somewhat salvageable, and I managed to find this one. Now, how hard these were to find, I had to find one that was actually factory code orange. This is that factory paint, or not, this isn't a factory paint from the original, but it's the same color that came with what's according to the VIN. It had to be not a clone, an actual Comet GT. So I found one of these in Florida about 10 years ago, and it was gone the first day. And that's a long distance for me anyway to go to, but I probably would have bought it if it would have been still available. It took me 10 years to find another one, and I found one actually not too far away. It was about a 6-hour drive, but I was all ready to buy it. I didn't even care if the motor was blown or even if it had a motor or whatever. And I bought this as soon as I seen the ad, because I scoured ads every day, honestly, for that long, and I still scour ads for other cars anyway. And I found this baby, bought it. It looked better than the pictures. Amazingly, this has absolutely no rust on it. It's had a little bit of restoration, I can tell. It has absolutely no rust, no Bondo. So this is a gem. If you're looking for one of these, they're impossible to find. And obviously sentimental value, because I wanted to find my first car that matched, and I found it. So this is awesome. So I'm going to take you through this thing, show you a little bit about it, and some of its weird things, and you probably notice, and we'll talk about why that has a big bumper. So I'll tell you first of all what is not factory on this. This little wing is not factory. I have seen them done this way in other colors, obviously, and I thought that's pretty cool. Actually, I bought it like this to get it on. I'm going to leave it on. I could take it off to get it stock, but as you can see, I've got the trusty old period correct Kragers, which were aftermarket at the time, but you got to love the Krager wheels there that I got, and obviously the white lettering on the TAs as well. That matches just the period correct, so I'm going to leave that on. Just if you notice this rear bumper sticking out, and we call this the park bench that Ford did. Ford being lazy in the 70s, and I'll tell you why this is and why I wanted a 75. So if you had an earlier Comet GT, this is called the 6th generation, which was 71 to 77, but they really stopped making them in 75 and just sold the 75s for 2 more years. I think it was 75 actually, they had to match the miles per hour bumper rule. I think it was 5 miles per hour. So Ford being lazy or couldn't afford it because of the time it was, they decided to just make a ugly park bench, we call it, stick out bumper, which is really odd. It gives us some character, I think. But before that, they actually had a tucked in. If you want to search, they actually have a tucked in bumper, which looks a lot more, I'd say it looks nicer. But because this is my first car, I had to have this one. And plus 75 really was the last year they made them, which was kind of cool. So you can say this is really my first sport compact, which was probably a lot of people's first sport compact, which led into a lot of cars that I have in the future. And I love cars anyway, but you can kind of see the trend as I go. I'm trying to do a little bridge for people out there that don't recognize what these are and how a muscle car can actually be a sport compact car. This one is. So it's both. So if you want one, go try and find one. They're hard. And you can get lots of clones, like I said, but this is an actual Comet GT. The other one you can get is a Mercury grabber, which was kind of the equivalent to this on the Ford side. You can probably see the hood scoop there. It's not real. The factory, that's a factory thing that they put on the Comet GTs to dress them up, but it has no function. So that had already started in the early 70s, putting stuff on that had no actual function or practicality. And in fact, it probably slows it down if you want to get technical. Not that these were quick. They did have the 302, the famous 302 that obviously the Mustangs have. And we'll just pop it on that. I'm going to try and do this with my hand. It's a little hard to do. There we go. It's a basic engine. And that's it right there. Yeah, basic. As you can see, this has a floor shifter. What's wonky, and it wasn't just Ford that did this, and it was, I think, because of production and why they did it, but you know how the floor shifter, you should just have linkage straight to your transmission? Well, they have linkage that goes actually to the steering column if you had 3 on the tree. And they left it in there no matter what option if you got the floor shifter. So look at it move. I don't know if you can see that. You see that move? Anyway, it's a really weird thing. So the guy here had this tachometer on. He had it sitting here, and I didn't realize, because I never noticed this when I had the other car way back, but he had it sitting here with the hose clamp on, and I'd shift and it would do this. So I don't know why he put it there. Kind of cool, I guess. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you like the effect, but I didn't like that, so I took this off. So she's optioned up, guys. No, it's not. It's got a window wipe washer. There you go. That's pretty cool. I don't know if that was option or not back then. Probably not. It's all black. And again, these are never redone seats, so they are in perfect condition. And I don't know how we're able to find that. Now I've got a little tatter on the roof line here. I'll have to replace the roof liner, but other than that, it's too bad because it's actually good except for these tears, and I don't know what happened, if I had a mouse up there or what, but it doesn't smell like mouse, and there's no other evidence of a mouse. But yeah, I had everyone had ashtrays back then. That was pretty common. No air conditioner, no fancy steering wheel. Look at that play, huh? Look at that play. This is no power steering, guys. Lots of fun there too. Let's go for a drive. Appreciate what you got now, but I tell you, it just is a car. There's nothing else but car here. No fancy options, nothing. Just a little bit of technology to the Model A perhaps, but it's got some raw power on that nice 302. Sounds awesome. Yeah, it's not going to be able to corner real well or anything like that on autocross, but it just brings you back to another time when cars were simple. They got you from point A to B. You can have a little fun with them as well. And honestly, these things are more comfortable than anything you can imagine, considering what they are. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of you would buy these back in the day yourselves and do whatever you can to them. So I'm glad you can appreciate this with me. Now, I don't have air conditioning. It's a hot day and it's a black interior car, so I can tell you, I might have some beads of sweat on me a little bit, but you guys are worth it. I have those cool little windows in the back that kind of jet out, and they're pretty cool, actually. You don't get that anymore in a car either, on those corner windows. Now, something that needs fixing in this car that I'm going to do in a later episode is, I don't know if it's to do with that linkage I showed you that's on the column between the floor shifter and the steering column, or if there's something going on with the transmission or what. But I can't even find first gear, reverse, And it's weird, when it's cold, you can find it. After that, it grinds like hell, which is weird. Maybe you guys got some ideas, but I don't know. I totally look into it. I haven't looked at it. I've had this car for almost a year, but I haven't had time to look at it. So I'm arriving in second and third. And the nice thing about having a V8 302, starting out in the top gear is actually possible. You certainly couldn't do that with your 4-cylinder. At least I've never tried it, but I don't think you could. Imagine putting it in your 5th gear on a 4-cylinder or something like that. Probably not going to happen. So, at least you can start out any gear in these cars if you want to. From my driving a grain truck days on the farm, honestly, this is similar to shifting that. I hate to say that, but it is true. But it also brings you back to a cool time in your life too, or a cool time in the world. So I'll be putting her up on the lift and having a look at that in a later episode. We can work on that together to see what little surprise is in there. Now, these did not come with a 4 or 5 speed. So I may put a 4-speed or a 5-speed in this. I'm thinking a 4-speed, just to have a little bit of a highway. You've seen how loose the steering is on it. I may try to tighten it up, but I'm going to keep it with no power steering, no options, because I just don't think that's fun sometimes. Before I forget to tell you guys, hey, another interesting thing on these cars, old cars, some of them, Fords for sure, when you lock it, and I don't know if they did it as just because of the mechanism they made and that's the way it had to be, or if it was actually some type of little precaution to help you not lock your keys in your car, because people did that a lot back then too, just like they do today. It's a little harder to do within technology though. So if you lock this, you know, get out of the car, you lock the door, it actually unlocks. So how are you supposed to lock this? Well, what they did is if you lock it, there's a nice buzzer. If you lock it, you need to hold the button in to the door latch and then close it, and then it locks. So it's just a little reminder that if you want to lock it, you got to push that. So it kind of jars your memory, I think, that say, hey, did you get your keys? I don't know. That's what I'm going with on it anyway. It's just a little quirk. So if passengers have trouble locking it, usually when I try to tell them. Thank you for joining me on this episode, sharing a little bit about the history of this car and why it's special to me and why it's special to the world, in fact, and kind of the link to the cars a lot of you are involved in now or you see on the road. I'll probably have quite a variety on this channel, including this and other ones. I really appreciate you, all you that are watching this. Please don't forget to share, subscribe, and hit the like button and all that stuff. And until again, enjoy every day and always make it right. And that's how you blow shift.